It's time for Michigan's retirement coach, Mike Douglas.
It continues to be that time of year. And there's something about this music that just inspires, doesn't it?
Oh, man,
We realize that it's early Sunday morning and maybe you haven't had your first cup of coffee yet.
Fire up, though. Let's go. It's Sunday morning. Let's go. Let's get it.
So an interesting season in football. This is actually in reference to NFL, but I was saying to you before we came on the air today, we could take this conversation all the way over to college because the college football coach change up this season has been crazy. And thinking about where teams are mid-season, NFL in particular, there are several coaches in the hot seat. We have seen coaches, they're not even in the hot seat. They're being straight up fired in college football.
Yeah.
Watching a game, though, and what coaches are being decided upon in the game of football, it's right there in our faces. It's right out there. And it often comes down to a few key factors. You see things like a poor start to a season after high expectations. There was consistent losing records, or it's been too long since somebody had a playoff appearance. Again, we can see the stats and facts for the most part in sports games. There's my
sports games.
In sports games and sports ball. It's not the same when it comes to the game of retirement, Mike. We don't have the stats and facts right in front of us. So for somebody who has a financial advisor and rightfully so looks to that advisor as a coach for retirement, you might say to them, well, is it time to change up? Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's going good. How do we begin to understand if we also need to be making a coaching of sorts change for our retirement plan? Are there signs to look for?
Yeah, the beauty of real sports is that you have a clock and you have a record.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's easy
not hard to follow.
know who wins and who loses, right? And really, it's all numbers-driven stuff. Sports decisions, for the most part, are numbers-driven decisions. It's not about how you feel or what I think. They're able to go through and say, look, here's your record. Here's where we're at. That's why we got to move on and do something different. And that's acceptable. Why? Because we say we just want to do what's right by our fan base. We want to do what's right for our program, or we want to do what's right for our people. So we're going to get to where we need to go.
There's
and we're
too
going to try
much
to find the best coach.
There's too much at stake.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a couple who came in. They'd been working with the same advisor for over a decade. Mm-hmm. Super nice guy. And I love relationships that last a long time. But their biggest frustration when we were talking was the plan really hadn't changed much. Mm-hmm. Like, he sold us, he got our money, he put us in the investments, and now I don't really hear from him so much.
Was this couple already retired, or what was the time
they were
frame that
newly retired?
Okay, so
newly
they were
retired.
working. But they were 10 years out from retirement when they started working with him. So
yeah. Yep. So they went through there, and then during some of the biggest changes of their life, they said it was just like, we'll just stay the course and not really change a whole lot.
Okay.
And they, as they started, really when they came in, as they started listening through the program, and they started hearing, hey, we should be talking taxes. We should be talking about estate plan. We should be talking about diversification differently. Mm-hmm. We're at a different phase of life than we were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Why are we not having these conversations from this person who allegedly knows us and is invested in our well-being? Mm-hmm. So that was a frustration point that they came in, and when they said that we feel like we're kind of not in these words, but they said nothing's changed. So they're running the same playbook as they were in their 50s, going through the process, and now they're in their 60s, and they're saying, I don't think I'm the same person I was 10 years ago, and the world's not the same as it was 10 years ago. Why are we doing nothing different?
Right.
So that was a frustration point, and that makes sense. And if you're out there and that's how you feel, it's valid. It's a common theme we're starting to see. A lot of people saying, I'm tired of the set it and forget it. There's too much chaos in the world. I need a more proactive strategy that's built around me, not the advisor. That's a frustration. So if that's you, we get it. We hear you loud and clear. If you would like a conversation, just someone to take a look at what you're doing and see if it still makes sense, give us a call, 616-512-2127, or you can reach out to us at michigansretirementcoach.com. And when you reach out, we'll set up a time for you and I to chat, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, however long you want. And we'll just hear out where you're at, and we'll try to answer any questions you have. But when they came in, that was their frustration. So when we reviewed their plan, I mean, I'm not talking about a little bit. We found thousands of dollars in tax savings that was there.
Annually?
It just had to be done. All we had to do is some tax harvesting and some strategy.
But is that an annual savings, or is that projected over their retirement?
Well, initially there was a big upfront savings because there was an opportunity. So we did a big upfront savings, and now they've got a system where every year we have an active tax strategy, sometimes to pay less in taxes, sometimes to pay more in taxes, but it's part of a long-term strategy that we're constantly monitoring and updating.
Got it.
So, because the way we look at it is over the next 20 to 30 years of your life, how much are you scheduled to pay in taxes? Well, for a lot of people, that could be $500,000, $1 million, $2 million. What can we do annually to minimize that long-term number? If over your life you're supposed to pay $1 million in taxes, but we can do some strategies that brings it down to $500,000, $600,000. I still don't like paying $500,000 in taxes, but it's better than $1 million.
Yep.
So we went through theirs and we found some big tax savings and showed them how we could create a consistent retirement income that wasn't so market driven, but still participated and got benefits from the market, and they could really count on that paycheck. Then they realized that it's not even that their old coach was bad. He just was running plays from 10 years ago and he hadn't updated. And so in the same way, they said for us, for our program, for our life, for their fan base, they wanted to go a new direction. Yes, for the brand. They said, we cannot just keep running these same plays, getting just crushed over and over again.
Yeah.
And that brings us kind of to our first point. Like, the game has changed. The way finances are managed for retirees has changed. And if you are not having tax-driven conversations, if you are not utilizing the tax code to your benefit, then you are missing out on one of the greatest opportunities to protect your retirement. If you overpay in taxes, then you have to get a greater rate of return to live the same lifestyle. Think about it that way. If you overpay in taxes, that's like in a football game. If you get a holding penalty and now it's 1st and 20, now to get the same distance, I have to go farther. I have to do more and be more creative and more intentional and take a little more risk. Why? Just to get the same first down. In the same way, if you are overpaying in taxes, now I need a greater rate of return to live the same life. Take the other side of that. If I use good tax strategies where I can eliminate chunks of my taxes, okay, well, now maybe I could live a really good life and I don't have to have as risky of an investment portfolio. I could get a 5% return rather than a 7% and still live the same life just because I took tax strategies more seriously.
Yeah.
So the game has changed. A 10-year-old playbook does not win in today's retirement game.
Right.
You cannot just set it and forget it anymore. At the same time, we need an offensive strategy, not a defensive strategy. We are not just a defensive strategy, I should say. A lot of times people say, hey, you're retired. Okay, now you can't lose in the market anymore. You have to have a protective defensive strategy. And I agree. You need a strategy on how we manage ourselves and how we manage our money during downturns. You do not need to experience the entire downturn, nor should your whole portfolio be exposed to the downside of the markets. But if you only have a defensive strategy and not an offensive strategy, what happens is this. There's one bad year and you're grateful for the protective year. And then there's 7 good years where you say, yeah, but I do have that defensive strategy. Now you go back to your advisor and they say, yeah, we didn't make hardly anything, but you really can't lose anything. Well, the problem is over time with inflation and the cost of living and all these things and interest rates where they are, you have to have an offensive strategy too. Yeah. My father-in-law says all the time, you got to make hay while the sun shines. Well, if there's good markets, you should participate in them. That doesn't mean you don't have guardrails and protective measures on downside markets. So you need an offensive strategy and a defensive strategy. And then your special team strategy is, what do I do when the unknowns pop up? What happens when we have long-term care? What happens when we have severe sickness? What happens if I lose a job? What happens? All these things, these are the special teams, the unique moments in retirement that you don't experience at 30 years old or 40 years old, right? But you experience them pretty heavily in retirement. What do I do when a major medical expense pops up, but since I'm not employed anymore, I'm on Medicare? How does it get covered? What pays for it? Who pays for it? Those are the things you need to know.
Yeah.
So I think the frustration is a lot of times people say, now that I'm retired, my person put me defensive and I have zero offense. The market's going crazy. I'm making 3%. The market's going negative. I have a negative 3%. If I'm going to be in this game, I want to win. So you need a good defense, but you also have to get some offensive points on the board. That's a good plan.
Okay.
If you are one of those people, you say, I'm just getting frustrated because of this, because I'm only defensive, because I don't have offense. And every time I meet, they say, yeah, you didn't make any money, but you also can't really lose any money because we put you in this product, this annuity, this, that, whatever else.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not against defensive strategies. I think it's critical for retirees to hedge more against losses than be opportunistic for gains. But I don't think it's this or that. Jack Bogle, who founded Vanguard, he had a great quote. He said, investing is making a few good decisions and avoiding the big mistakes. That's it. So I need some offense and some defense. But unfortunately, most retirement planners, once you get towards retirement, they say, let's just play defense.
Okay.
Or let's just play offense. And both are short-sighted, I think. If that's you and you're feeling that frustration, give us a call, 616-512-2127, and we will look at your investments to see what type of game plan you have. I'd say the last one is the lack of game film. A coach who's losing probably is not spending enough time studying game film. We watch last week's film, see what we did right, see what we did wrong, make some decisions about how we're going to move forward, and then look at the next 5 years and how do we want to invest accordingly. Do we think the market's going to be good? Do we think there's a bunch of these V-shaped corrections that keep happening where the market tanks for 2 weeks and recovers it in a week? And then as soon as it tanks for 2 weeks, you get out of the market and then it recovers for a week and you don't participate in it? How do we navigate these volatile times? But unfortunately, people have these views of saying, well, we'll just see what happens and I'll check in with you once a year, which again is fine. It's just not very proactive. If we're going to set your portfolio and forget it for a year, so much can happen in a year. And you better hope that you end on the right end of that cycle because it's not proactively managed.
Right.
So I think that's a big issue. If you haven't had your plan reviewed in over a year and you're not sure what your advisor's doing to save you on taxes, improve your income, it might be time to start looking for a new coach. Let's put your plan through a real review, a real film session to understand what's working, what's not, and how do we get our retirement back in winning form. Set yourself up for a good season by knowing that you're working with a coach who has your best interest in mind and is built for today's game. Give us a call, 616-512-2127, or reach out to us at michigansretirementcoach.com, and we'll set up a time for you and I to talk, to hear your story, and to answer questions you may have.
Something that a lot of folks do this time of year, you're supposed to every 6 months change all the batteries in your smoke detectors. Do you follow that?
I change the batteries when I hear about it.
When you hear the chirp?
Yeah. When the chirp happens, I go change them, and that's because I just can't take it, right?
Okay.
But that's when I do it. I know you should do it on more of a regular schedule.
Yeah.
But I think ours are also hardwired.
That's the thing.
Like,
I need to look up because I still in the 6 month schedule, but part of me has wondered, I'm like, am I wasting batteries here? Because I think they now tell you when they need to be changed.
yeah, because ours never.
Now, yeah. You're doing the best you can. You got 4 kids. You're a small business owner, Mike. You're doing great. So the thing about smoke detectors is batteries, how often you change that aside, make sure you have enough in the house. For most people, if you ask them how many smoke detectors you need, I think that the common response people would say, oh, just make sure you have one on every floor. Fake news, everybody. The National Fire Protection Association recommends that you might need 5 to 10 smoke detectors. You're supposed to have one in every bedroom, then one just outside of every bedroom / sleeping area in the house, plus one on every level of the home. And that includes basements and finished attics. Do the quick math.
It sounds like this was put out by Big Smoke Alarm, like
somebody that sells
the smoke alarm consortium who's they're like, man, we're sitting on this back stock of smoke alarms. What are we going to do with this? You know what? No, put it inside each of your cars. Like, put it everywhere.
Your cars.
Yeah. If you don't have one under your bed, what are you doing? Right? Like, you need it everywhere.
Okay.
Ours talk to each other. Ours tell you where the fire's coming from.
Oh, really? You got some smart
we ours in our house it's just like a networked system, but basically like whatever one sets off the alarm.
Yeah.
It says it'll go, and then it says like master bedroom. So you kind of set them to where they are.
Okay. That's good. I need to look into that.
It's a bougie fire alarm system.
Okay. Listen, that
we bought from Lowe's. We got from Lowe's. It's not, I'm just kidding with it. It's just from Lowe's.
Listen, if you're going to spend money on something, a smoke detector system is not a bad idea. You've got 4 children. You want to keep everybody safe.
If I'm putting 7 to 10 per level of my house, then yeah, I got to know where it's coming from.
Take it easy before you start bobbing your head back and forth there, Mr. Financial Advisor, because speaking of things that we might say, whoa, we need how many of that with our retirement plan, income streams that we need to create this layer of security for ourselves I have heard different people throughout the financial industry talk about, oh, you're going to need 5 different income sources / streams in your retirement plan. That sounds like a lot to me. And it seems like that seems very intimidating. Like, how in the heck? I do not own rental properties. I am an employed person. I work for various companies. I'm going to have my Social Security. I'm going to have my 401k. I'm going to have some savings. And I'm supposed to generate how many income streams in retirement?
Right.
So how do you help somebody build out various income streams in their retirement plan?
Yeah. So and I think that's a great common sentiment, is that when they hear multiple income streams, they say, man, I have to get rentals. I don't want to deal with real estate. Right. Now, that is a common one. And those who like it, love it. Those who don't, really don't.
Yeah.
And so you can build multiple income streams just inside your 401k or your investment portfolio. The whole idea is just not letting a handful of investments dictate your future, right? Okay. We don't want to just let however the S&P does, that's how we do in retirement. That's not how it should be.
Okay.
What you do is you take your portfolio and say, I'm going to build multiple routes to the same destination. That way, if one gets backed up, I've got some backup routes. That's all it is. If you put in any GPS and you put in, here's where I want to go, and it says, here's where you are, here's where you want to go, here's the best route, but here's a bunch of other routes that help you get there as well. That's all we're talking about. So if you have a 401k investments and it's time to retire, you want to make sure that when the market dips, you have a non-market based solution. You want to make sure that when the market's good, that you have a market-based solution that kicks in more income.
Okay.
We had a client named Jim who came in, and his income was coming from Social Security and his 401k. And this is before he became a client. But as we met with him, his frustration was that when the market dipped, he panicked, freaked out. Every withdrawal felt extremely risky. And so then he got scared and pulled out of the market completely.
Yeah.
Because his concern was the market's going down and I need money from this thing. So I'm going to get out of the market so it can't go down anymore. So he gets out of the market, takes income, and then the market starts recovering, but he was afraid to get back in at the wrong time. And so he really missed out on a lot of opportunity out of fear. Mm-hmm. He grew tired of watching the market. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to live and die by red or green numbers on his app. And that's fair. That's a very reasonable place to be in retirement. So what we did is we took his portfolio. Again, he didn't want to do with rentals. He's not trying to do all that. So he said, what can we do with my investments? We took it and we created multiple streams of income. We had some that was guaranteed, some that came from dividends from stocks, some that were out of a cash reserve. Hey, here's 6 months of savings if anything goes wrong. And also, here's some tax-free income that comes from a Roth bucket. So we diversified it across several different investment types. That way, if the market's going down, I pull from the guaranteed portion more. If the market's going up, and the dividends, if the market's going up, I pull from some of the winnings of a good market. Okay. And so you kind of just get to hedge back and forth. But again, we gave him basically 4 routes to the same destination of income.
Okay.
That way, when something goes wrong on one of those routes, we can just kind of pivot and jump over towards the others. So he didn't have to go buy a rental. He didn't have to go buy anything else. He just built a plan that makes sense for right now. We have a lot of volatility in the market. And it's literally, I try to tie it to any one thing, but since 2018, we've had so many 10% and 20% corrections. Mm-hmm. Like every other year we go through them. So we're kind of due for one again, and we'll see when it hits. But when it happens, we don't want our income to go away. We don't want snowbird less days because the market's going through a pullback. So we just need diversified income streams. More income streams, having those things, it actually brings a good confidence.
Yeah.
When you have those taken care of, sure, it's a whole different life. And if this is what you want to learn about and see how you can be built that way, give us a call at 616-512-2127 or reach out to us at michigansretirementcoach.com. We will show you the way to build the roadmap, the way to have different streams of income. A plan isn't complete without a strategy like this.
Yeah.
You need this. And also, once I have those income streams set up, how are they taxed? How much am I paying in taxes year over year? Because just income isn't enough. We need to also make sure that we're not overpaying in taxes. Income planning without tax planning, it's just like a smoke alarm without the battery, right? We have the ability, we have the tools, but we need to give it the juice. We need to give it the power. You wouldn't trust just one smoke detector to protect your family. Don't trust one income source to protect your retirement. Let's build a layered income plan so you have protection in every corner of your financial house. If you want to see where your income would really come from in retirement, in good markets and in bad, let's sit down and map it out. Give us a call, 616-512-2127, and we'll get a time scheduled for you and I to sit down and have a conversation. Probably a phone call at first. That way we get to know each other. Mm-hmm. And from there, I'm going to understand where you sit and answer any questions you have. And then from there, if you want to get together and we map out a plan for you, that's what it looks like. But when you call in, you're setting up a 30-minute phone call or so with me. Let's figure out where you are and answer your questions. 616-512-2127.
Thanks for listening to Michigan's Retirement Coach with Mike Douglas. To learn more, visit michigansretirementcoach.com.
Michael Douglas is an investment advisor representative of Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Michael Douglas is licensed in your state, please call 517-323-7526. Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Michael B. Douglas, NPN number 9650939.